There are so many new RPGs, thousands are being made. How do you know where to even begin? Good news, I've been making these lists for over a decade, so let me bring you through some of the interesting new role-playing games you might have missed in 2024. First up is The Way of Wrath. This one is set in the Bronze Age, and you are a tribal chieftain in what they're calling an epic strategy RPG. But what you're doing here is that you are leading a tribe trying to survive this harsh element, and there is an enemy that's trying to kill all of your people. There has been a lot of hype for this game. A lot of people have been talking about it, a lot of people are excited for it. It is supposed to be releasing in 2024, but we'll have to see whether it can deliver on all of its promises. Those promises being, you are a war chief and you get to choose from one of 5 distinct origins that changes how others in the world would see you and treat you. There's a free-form progression system, classless skill progression, that is popular with a lot of people. But you know, if you really like the classes and you're more of a classic player, that one always feels like it's a little unstructured, but classless skill progression is also good. And you'll be controlling your tribe beyond just your main character. You'll be gathering resources, determining which risks are worth taking, and preparing for an eventual assault on your tribe. So there are some colony management aspects to this RPG. There's disputes amongst your people. You make rulings and enact laws, and deeds and misdeeds will build reputation among your people. And there's hunting, crafting, and battles are fought with a real-time with pause or turn-based tactical combat. You get to choose, which is an interesting approach. There is a lot being promised here. There's even supposed to be no generic NPCs and fully fleshed out worlds and great tales and all of that to explore, which is a lot. And looking at the game, maybe that's why visually it's not the most high fidelity game you might be seeing this year, but if they just deliver on all of these promises, then The Way of Wrath could be something quite special. And then we have today's sponsor, King Arthur Legion IX. Click the link below to have a closer look. This is a game that I listed before without being sponsored, but today they sponsored this video because I'm personally into tactical RPGs. So in King Arthur Legion IX, it's got this dark fantasy, ancient Roman aesthetic, and you play this old, ancient, undead Roman centurion coming out of Tartarus and ends up in Avalon, where you meet sort of undead King Arthur's forces, and you have this central city which you are building up new structures and doing some base management, but mainly you're going out into the world on story missions where you engage in multiple tactical battles in various settings and scenarios as you're trying to take control of this new world you find yourself in. Now, if you played the original King Arthur Knight's Tale game, then you will enjoy this one. This is sort of like a continuation side game of the original game, but you don't have to have played the original to get this one. King Arthur Legion IX is a standalone game that you can jump into, and it's got all the trappings that you're wanting from a tactical RPG. Character management, equipment and gear, upgrading, leveling, tons of unique abilities, and very satisfying synergies of those abilities, where if you cleverly position and order your abilities in the right direction, it all comes together and you can perform very well. Or if you want a more casual experience, there are lower difficulties or even an Iron Man mode, so you can go through this game at the difficulty level that you enjoy. Now, this one did release on the 9th of May to mostly positive reviews on Steam, so click the link below to have a closer look at Legion IX or Legion 9. And then we have a very pretty looking pixel art RPG called Forge of the Fae. Here you explore a story-rich, mysterious world inspired by Celtic folklore, and you'll be using crystals to channel powerful magic and make impactful choices that will change the story's outcome. Now, there's a unique crystal system which you'll be using when you get into battles with dangerous fae, and the whole thing has a retro-modern RPG approach. Now, retro-modern RPG, particularly with pixel art, tends to have this sort of pixel aesthetic, which a lot of people like, but I know not everyone does. But if you do like pixel art, this one does look quite nice, and it has the modern effects to go along with the pixel art. I think that art style is actually now called NeoPixel, and this one does generally seem to be shaping up quite nicely. Having said that, they are planning to run a Kickstarter as well, which will probably launch this year. So we're probably not going to see a full release in 2024, but an early access release is common post Kickstarter, and we've seen some footage but not a lot. But I think it'll be interesting to keep an eye on Forge of the Fae. And then, one I really want to show off, it's called Felvidek. This has sort of a retro nostalgic 3D pixel art style, which is sort of reminiscent of Return of the Obra Dinn, if you've seen that before, but it's an RPG. And this one released in March 2024 to overwhelmingly positive reviews. It's got about 1,000 user reviews on Steam, and it's at 99%. That is almost unheard of. And, well, since people are liking it, I think I should share it with you. This is calling itself a JRPG set in 15th century Slovakia, and you embrace the role of an alcoholic knight called Pavel. You meet diverse, interesting characters, and you help to drive out the Hussites and Ottomans who are a blight on this land. And you can see from the footage the kind of game it is. It's just this weird, not quite monochromatic. I mean, it's hard to describe the art style. It's retro, but kinda modern, but also nothing else really looks like this. Now, what it is very clear. This is more of an indie game, and it even says that it can be completed in 3 to 4 hours. But it looks like it's one of those unique short experiences that people just love. So if you haven't heard of Felvidek, go have a closer look and see if you agree with 99% of people. Hey, now that you're a bit into the list, I'm sure you're enjoying it, so it would be greatly appreciated if you can like the video. Thank you. Alright, next game. Our Life on Water. Here you start your new life as a river talker in a magical life sim RPG. You befriend spirits on the Mekong River to build and protect your floating village. You're drifting, you're farming, you're fishing, and you're forging new friendships, and you can even fall in love. Overall, you'll be shaping the tale of a world worth saving. Now, this one does blend RPG and life sim elements, and it's a little hard to tell which one it should be classified as, because it's kind of both. But I've already covered a lot of life sims in other lists, so I'm just gonna mention this one here. It looks like a chill, nice, relaxing time, and it might be something you want to get into. A bright, colorful world living on a river? Yeah, it sounds nice. Now, there's no specific release date yet, but it is said to be coming in 2024, so Our Life on Water will be floating on by relatively soon, and it might be your thing, but otherwise we've got some other very different games on this list. Now, with retro and modern combining, Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. This is actually a remake of the original Wizardry game from the 80s. And the Wizardry series has influenced a lot of games throughout the decades. Notably, Wizardry influenced the original games made by From Software, the games that eventually led up to becoming Dark Souls and Elden Ring. Wizardry also, of course, influenced so many RPGs through the 90s, in terms of dungeon crawlers and classical RPGs and even action RPGs. It's just look at the aesthetic of Wizardry games, and then you can start to see, oh, so many games kind of just came from this. So I'm personally a big fan of remakes of old retro games, and this one seems to be keeping the retro approach, but of course it's got new graphics, new mechanics, and new sort of refinements of everything to bring one of the oldest computer RPGs to the modern era. Well, somewhat modern era. It's an interesting project to study, if nothing else. Anyway, this one did release into early access towards the end of 2023 to very positive user reviews on Steam. It's doing well, and it's planning to leave early access and have a full release before the end of 2024. So it's looking for a full release this year, and you can jump in now for your old school dungeon crawling, accurate, complex RPG, but it's supposed to be the challenge without the hassle and over tediousness of retro RPGs, which is sort of the point of this. Otherwise, you can go back and play the original Wizardry games from the 80s. I think it's just really interesting that one of the oldest computer RPGs is getting a remake this year. Next up, we've got Archaelund. Explore a vast open world and crawl through dungeons in first person, and then you fight tactical turn-based battles from a top-down perspective, which is the interesting thing. You're sort of like a first-person dungeon crawler, and then it zooms out to an overview of this turn-based tactical RPG. So it's sort of combining what we see in like more classic first-person dungeon crawler type games and also tactical RPGs. You'll be guiding your adventuring party through the game, and this world is mankind's last frontier, filled with secrets and dangers. This one also has been in early access since the start of 2024 to a couple hundred user reviews on Steam with a very positive rating, and it's still getting updates through the year. So it's got a more niche but good start. There is a detailed roadmap so that you can see what's been coming and what has been delivered on already. And of course, it's got the expected elements of an RPG, deep and engaging character progression, turn-based battles with a focus on strategy, and an expansive handcrafted world. Now, having said that, the full release is quite a ways off. On the detailed roadmap, it is actually estimated Q2 for 2026. For the full release of the game, so it's planning over 2 years in early access, but it is playable now, so I thought I should mention Archaelund. For another taste of a pixel art JRPG, Terra Memoria. There's a shortage of magic crystals. It's a JRPG, of course there's magic crystals. And there's a sudden awakening of ancient robots that leads 6 new friends on an incredible investigation across Terra. This is meant to be a cozy but fantastic world that also combines 3D and pixel art for that neo-pixel approach. In JRPG fashion, you are going on a road trip and you set up camps and gather people to join you, and there's a handyman and a blacksmith, and it's a cute little RPG with crafting, building, and some base management, and just a world to uncover and piece together and explore. It's just one of those nice road trip JRPGs, which is kind of a thing by itself, isn't it? Anyway, this one did release in March 2024 to few but very positive user reviews. And what's even better, if you're curious but not sure if you want to jump in right now, at the time of recording there is a free demo on Steam, so you can just try Terra Memoria and see if it's the kind of game that you want to be jumping into. Alright, now we have something that's kind of very different. It doesn't really fit into my other RPG lists. It's a text-based RPG, something we don't really get all that much nowadays. SacriFire, a role-playing game. So a text-based RPG is really reliant on the story and the choices, and it's sort of just a step away from a visual novel, but it's more RPG, right? But this one does have graphics, it's not that text-based retro. This one is full of choices and action. You'll be fighting for survival in the midst of a Roman invasion of ancient Caledonia. You strategize one dice roll at a time, and your emotions affect your performance. You can use willpower to outsmart opponents, gain allies, wage war, or strive for peace. It's up to you to determine how your story goes. So I've been watching SacriFire for a couple years now. It actually entered early access towards the end of 2021. So it's been a while, and it's gotten a few hundred user reviews, but I have to say, at 95% positive. So the reason why I'm talking about it again is that it is supposed to fully release summer 2024. So this should be releasing relatively soon. And with a 95% positive user rating, I mean, it should be something that people who enjoy text-based RPGs should enjoy this one. Also, good news, this one has a free demo as well on Steam, so you can jump in now, or you could try the free demo and then see if you want to wait for the full release that's supposed to be in summer 2024, and we're guessing Northern Hemisphere here, so middle of 2024 for SacriFire, a role-playing game. For one more taste of a neo-pixel JRPG, SacriFire. This is a modern JRPG-inspired game with a unique battle system, rich story, very nice visuals actually, and it's got a bit of a side-scrolling platformer thing, but then real-time combat with dynamic battles. But it's sort of merging real-time and turn-based styles in a sort of fluid experience. This sort of combination of battle styles seems to be a bit of a trend these days, maybe just to try and mix things up a little bit. Now, besides that, there is also moral complexity, one of my favorite things in RPGs, where you can't just do the good thing or do the bad thing. There's some moral ambiguity to it. And the whole thing is a tale of two worlds. You're traveling between a sprawling subterranean city called Antioch and an idyllic spirit paradise called Erebus. Through the two worlds, it's sort of including elements of fantasy and science fiction, along with all of the more elaborate gameplay systems, combat disciplines, crafting of weapons, solving puzzles, imaginative dungeons. And they do keep pushing music and voice acting as a particular selling point, so you can have a listen to those if you like. So overall, this one looks really nice, and it is promising a lot. There's no particular fixed release window right now, but SacriFire should be one to watch through 2024, and we can see how it goes along. It does get regular devlogs, so you can keep up with development and see when they plan to release it. Now, if you want even more 2024 RPGs, this was kind of a loose list of games that didn't quite fit into my other lists. For action, first-person, third-person, classic, tactical, and more role-playing games, don't forget to watch the other RPG lists, some of them linked on the screen right now, and down below. Press the like button and get games using the GOG referral link below to support videos like this one. Just click the GOG link and buy any game, it really does help. Thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members who really support this channel and keeping videos like these being made. Join if you want your name on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.